everyone. I am going to interview a new person I've never met. Her name is Jess, and she has a condition called Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia. And I'm going to ask her all about that, what that means. She is in a committed relationship, and I'm going to ask her about her significant other and how he handles her condition and get to know her better. So here we go.
There we go. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous. I'm doing this by myself today. Angie is out of town, so she can't be here to hold my hand through this, but you can hold my hand through this.
Absolutely. I would be happy to. Yeah, I would be happy to. I'm a little nervous myself, so we'll be here together.
Well, I hope I can lift away those butterflies.
Absolutely. I already feel better.
Oh, good. So, I already introduced you before you came on camera, but I'm sure people are going to want to know what spastic, let me look at my notes again, spastic paraplegia is.
So, hereditary spastic paraplegia is it's a neurological inherited disorder that affects the muscles in my legs, and it makes them very, very stiff and spastic. So sometimes they're very heavy and difficult to move, and then other times I will just be sitting there and kicking without having a lot of control to be able to keep them down.
Wow. And do you feel that? Is it painful or not?
It is extremely painful. It feels like there's a lot of weight. They're very heavy. And when you get a Charlie horse, when people get like Charlie horses and their calves and stuff, I get those several times throughout the day and night in both my calves, in my upper thighs, and it makes it incredibly painful when your legs are heavy and they're carrying this this pain in the muscle. You just want to work it out and you really can't.
Wow. That's incredible that you have to go through that. I can't imagine it. I follow another interabled couple, and he is a quadriplegic, and he talks about his involuntary muscle spasms, and you can actually see them when he has them. You can see his legs like just shaking, shaking, shaking. So I imagine it's similar to that.
Very much so.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing about your condition with our YouTube family.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Not a lot of people are comfortable with being on camera or being interviewed or even being on the internet. So it's exciting for us to meet new people who share similar stories as Angie and I share. So it's nice. And I wanted to ask you, is being in a romantic and intimate relationship important to you?
Yes, absolutely. Intimacy comes in many forms.
Exactly.
I think that yes, I think that sometimes intimacy comes in the way that we touch or we look or into somebody's eyes, and just hold somebody's hands. And sometimes intimacy can be much more sexual than that. And I
Yes.
think that um, although we have challenges, I don't think that those challenges take away from our need and desire to want to not only have intimacy, but share it with somebody that that we care about. It's so important. But it's also important to acknowledge that we have our limits and that there are some days where we might not be as strong as other days, and that having a partner who cares about you and is willing to fill in that void and take in those extra steps, because that's intimacy as well, as knowing that your partner's struggling and that they might not be at their best that day, and you saying, hey, I'm here for you, let's do this together, this isn't all you. So I think it's important.
100%. You hit it right on the head. I agree 100%. Um, and did you meet your partner before you found out you had this condition?
So actually, I've been with my spouse since 1999. I was 15 years old, and I had not at the time I hadn't started showing symptoms yet. So I very well had, I mean, I had the disorder. It's just I hadn't started showing anything. So I met him when I was 15, and I think I was about 22 or 20, yeah, about 22 when I first started showing symptoms. So we had been together for about 7 years. And honestly, I think everybody just began to think I was very clumsy, myself included, because when you can't control, your muscles and you see everybody else, I think you just kind of think everybody has those, like, I'm in pain when I walk, or sometimes my muscle spasms out. I guess everybody has this.
Sure.
Um, so we did meet before, and he's been with me through the journey, definitely.
Wow. I love hearing that. Um, it's different when you meet your partner before something like that happens to you, because there's always a chance that they may not be able to handle it or go through it with you.
Right.
That's obviously a risk. So I wanted to get that out there for people that, someone can love you enough to go through something like that and still be there with you as you are now.
With the same kind and loving eyes. And that was a really big insecurity of mine in going through this. Is I have 3 kids that I couldn't drive anymore. I had 3 kids that I couldn't, for many years, I wasn't able to be as present as I would have liked to have been. And so I felt like he picked up a lot of additional responsibilities as well. And in addition to that, I think it's really beautiful that he could still look in my eyes the same way that he did when I was 15 years old, and now look at me in those same eyes and just say, like, I love you and I'm here on this journey with you, and you're not going through this alone. And I do believe it made things a lot easier for me to have somebody always be my cheerleader and my champion, when I had days that I wasn't always my cheerleader or champion.
And you mentioned that you have children too, so that adds another dynamic to it as far as you're saying sometimes you're not present for them. That must be hard for you, like, and I don't know how they handle it. I'm sure they're very understanding and there for you as well. I'm not a mom, so I can't relate completely, but I'm sure that they're love you unconditionally.
You know, they really, really do. I hate to say that it brought us closer together, but it did absolutely bring us closer together. They're really quick to hold the door open for somebody when before they might not have been. They were just little kids, and now they know that like mom has a difficult time doing this stuff by themselves, so I'm going to hold the door open for, for other people as well. And you see them, they've gotten incredibly close. Right after I was put into the wheelchair, one of my children had like a family marathon where they had to run like a mile and a half or something like that. And I was devastated because this was like I had gone from being able to do a lot to being able to do nothing. And it happened very quickly, like very, very quickly. And I was devastated. And the day the race came, my family put me in my wheelchair and they took turns racing with me, running. And I was crying the happiest, most beautiful tears because my family cared about me so much to be able to make sure I was included in that memory. I'm very fortunate for that memory. It's been 7 years, 6 years now, 6.5, 7 years now. And I still get very emotional thinking about it because I feel like one of the biggest struggles that we face is we want to be included.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, the world's not always set up to have us included in every situation.
That's very true.
So it was really cool to have that memory. And I look at those pictures and they still bring tears to my eyes watching them. We were not clear. We were not even near the front of the race, but we all had a lot of fun and it was a lot of laughter and the happiest memory. It's one of my best memories.
I love that. That's so awesome to hear. That's awesome. And that kind of goes into my next question is, what do you want to see change in the disabled community?
Well, in the disabled community, I would, especially in Southern Oregon, I've lived in quite a few states, and Southern Oregon, I feel like is a very historical area, which is beautiful. But unfortunately, when there's a lot of historical buildings, there's not changes on those buildings. We want to keep them. We want to preserve them in the state that they're in.
Sure.
And so then we find ourselves wanting to visit a restaurant,
Right.
and then we get to the location and we find out the restaurant's upstairs and there's not an elevator to be able to. So I feel like accessibility, having more wheelchair friendly sidewalks, having more wheelchair friendly buildings, going shopping in a lot of these smaller stores is such a struggle in our wheelchair, trying to get between these racks, and we're getting suffocated by these clothes trying to make it through. And I feel like personally wanting to be included and wanting to be able to access the same benefits as everybody else would be the two things that I feel need the most attention.
And I agree completely. I struggle with the same thing, and a little bit more so because in any crowded store, I have to also be careful of, fracturing, having someone bump into me or running into a clothing rack. It's a risk for me. So I try to avoid crowded places, which, is hard because a lot of the things I like to do involve people, like concerts. I love going to concerts. but it's a little risky because concerts can be crowded. So I just have to have like 3 or 4 people around me, at those places. Uh,
Yeah, a
but
protection.
yeah, protection, and also you're right, like the accessibility in Southern Oregon is not always there. My wife is a very outdoorsy person. She loves walking and, discovering new places, but I can't always go with her because the paths aren't cement. I need to be on a very smooth path.
Yeah.
I don't do well with dirt or gravel or, when there's like tree roots, in the ground, that doesn't work for me. So I have to kind of sit back with a lot of those activities as well. And I wish that I could, go on more little strolls or hikes. Not hikes, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah,
Enjoy more of the outdoors scenery. We live in beautiful Southern Oregon. We want to be able to enjoy it.
yeah. So I wish nature,
Speaking on like the smooth trail,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like speaking on that smooth trail, you're so on it. Like people might think, oh, it's just not very smooth. Well,
Yeah,
it's so much more loaded than that.
yeah.
It's not good for our chair.
No, it's not.
No, it's not good for our body because it's quite painful sometimes to
It
be
is.
on this bumpy terrain. Like it's
Yeah.
so it's not just a convenience issue, it's an overall issue.
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah.
sure. You definitely hit it right there. Um, I see that you're a big advocate of cannabis,
Yes.
which I am as well. That's kind of how we met.
Yes.
Um, does it help you with your condition?
It helps me in a multitude of ways. It helps me physically in the fact that it alleviates a good amount of that weight that I had mentioned before. I hate to say, but sometimes it feels like I have bricks and everything beneath my hips. And so it's nice to have any kind of just alleviate that pain a little bit. It is great in the fact that, unfortunately, with a lot of disability, depression also plays a hand. We can't always be included. We can't always do the things we want to do. And it brings us down sometimes.
Yeah,
It is great mentally.
it is.
It it is it is great to be able to not only look at cannabis as a medication, which it is 85% for me, but also look at it as an outlet in our journey, in our path, to be able to say, like, whew, today has been a day. I have been in complete pain. I have not gotten around very easily. I was judged at the grocery store for not being able to do something. Like we have these days.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to say, like, okay, I'm getting my medical effects, but guess what? I am also releasing quite a bit of stress because
Yeah,
it has been a day.
yeah, exactly.
So I really am a huge advocate for it,
Yeah, I am too.
having medical.
I am too, and I use it mostly for anxiety and sleeping well, and I had a lot of anxiety, but more so in the evening. I don't know why that is, but it is. So I've been using cannabis for over, I would say about 10 years. Um, and I use it daily, and I'm not on any other psych or anxiety medication, just THC, and I want to keep it that way because I feel like it's enough. It's enough for me.
Yes, yeah.
I haven't really felt a lot of relief as far as pain is concerned. I mean, I don't have a lot of bone pain, but I have been diagnosed with a kidney stone. Um, well, I've been dealing with it for over a year, but they just finally figured out what my pain was caused from, which is the
Ouch.
kidney stone. And I don't know if cannabis has helped with the pain of that. Maybe I'm just not finding the right kind or what, but uh,
See, I could see I'm very similar in that the way it alleviates my muscle pain. So in that stiffness, it somehow just gives it a little bit of release to be able to help it. But in terms of like, I've had quite a few surgeries. So like in my shoulder surgery and my spine surgery and things like that, it didn't help as much with pain as you had mentioned as it did with anxiety and the
right,
depression and things like that.
yeah,
But I don't know what the correlation is with the muscles, but even on the days that they're really bad and I take like RSO, um, it helps me tremendously. So I would be curious to see, 5, 10 years down the road, what that correlation might be.
I see. I haven't had a lot of muscle pain or joint pain or, things, headaches. I don't get headaches. So I'm lucky in a sense.
I think that we we all have I was just talking to my friend about this the other day, so I'm going to try my best to put it in the right words. It seems like when we're on the spot, they never.
Yeah,
I have another one of my really good friends is she has a disability that's different than mine, but we have our Venn diagram where we have these things similar and these things different. And there are some things that I feel like I watch her struggle so much in being able to go through, and she's such a warrior tackling these things. And then she looks at me and says the same thing to me, and I'm like, we are just warriors. Like we are dealing with so much, not being able to move in the sense that we want to. But you know what? We're warriors. What we lack in certain things, we make up for in other
that's right.
places.
That is so true. I agree. Wow. Do you need help with a lot of your physical care?
I had before. There was a time where I needed like assistance to do everything. Um, Thankfully, in the past couple of years, we have discovered how Botox is beneficial in the muscle spasticity. And so at first we started with small increments of Botox and we really didn't feel the difference. And as now I'm getting 600 units in my legs, I'm able to do a lot more by myself. But as the Botox, so it's every 12 weeks. So
Mhm.
I get the Botox and I take off. I'm like, yeah, I can do all this stuff. I can do all this stuff. And then as we're like 8 weeks in, all of a sudden I start going the other direction.
Yes,
Um, so I would say there are times where I need a lot more assistance than other times. There are times where I need somebody to even help me get dressed. I need somebody to help me do everything. And then there are times where I'm able to stand for short periods of time and I'm able to balance more. And it all depends on where I am on the Botox journey, where I am on that day's medical journey. Um, but Botox has changed my life.
wow,
I was told that I wouldn't be able to stand up for 4 minutes at a time. And I was told that I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things. I know you had seen my post recently. I'm driving right now. Like I never ever in a million years expected that to happen. And the day I got in the car and was able to drive by myself, I cried. Like
I
I
bet
felt like a 16-year-old child again. Like
it meant a lot to you.
I was told this stuff would never happen again, and I know it will be taken away from me. This is a progressive disorder. We
Mm,
have found a good balance now, but in all reality, the Botox can't go much higher. So I'm going to embrace the days that I have, but I'm going to be understanding and kind to myself and knowing that this isn't permanent.
mm-hmm.
And I'm I understand that.
Yeah. But I'm sure it's still hard to accept that fact too. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and I understand that completely. You're giving up some of your independence eventually, and that's scary and sad. And, I can't imagine what that's like. So, just all my advice is enjoy it now as much as you can and try not to think forward too much.
Right. Just
So,
live each day for the day it is.
exactly. Because you're not promised. My mom always tells me, we don't have tomorrow. We just
Sure.
have this moment. So be present. And that's really hard for me because I'm not always present. I'm always thinking ahead. What if this, what happened? It's hard for me. That's part of why I use cannabis to kind of calm my mind down.
Right.
So,
They say that depression is living in the past and anxiety is living in the future. I really wish we could just live in the present.
yeah, well, my mom, she's a big advocate of um, meditation and yoga, and that's how she's gotten through so much, with having me as a daughter and raising me and, hospitals and all these type of things. So meditation really centers her and keeps her where she's at. So, but me, I have a hard time with meditation. I, like I just said, I have trouble closing down my mind. I tell her listening to music, that helps me calm my mind. That's like my meditation is music.
It hits the soul.
Yeah, for sure. Whether it's Katy Perry or jazz, it just depends on what mood I'm in.
Exactly. And I'm the type of person that any genre of music, any decade of music, they all hit you different.
Yeah, it's true, for sure. Do you have any advice to give other couples like me or you and your husband? We call it interable. That's the term that the disabled community uses. Do you have any advice to give to other interabled couples or individuals that are disabled that are looking for love that haven't found love yet?
Yeah. So the first I'm going to answer the first part of that, and being that in a relationship, in an interable relationship, just remember patience. It's Love is patience. And not only is the disabled individual having challenges of their own, but so is the able-bodied individual having challenges of their own. When you love somebody, as I mentioned earlier, you help in carrying the weight because it's not their weight, it's your guys' weight as a
Mm-hmm.
couple. And so I think it's really important to remind yourself, myself speaking, I know I went through some, and I still do, some really just, I try to be positive, but I have bitter days. And I have to remind myself in my communications that he doesn't he doesn't know what I'm feeling if I don't tell him what I'm feeling.
Right.
And I can't expect him to. And in the opposite way, we both have to be open and honest and patient. And because I can't do some things and he picks up those responsibilities, I'm kind of a control freak. And so sometimes I want things done like at my speed, my pace. This is the priority I think they should be done in.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is he's a person with his own priorities as well. And he is always there to put my priorities as top of the list as he possibly can. But just because it's my number one priority doesn't mean in the big scheme of things, it's the number one priority. And so it's important that you're understanding about the other individual's time and that they're understanding about having days where you don't feel fantastic and you don't want to do something or you don't have the energy to. So I think it's a lot of, it's the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
You have to be there for each other. You have to be understanding for each other, and you have to be willing to help be the parts of the individual that they might not be able to be, whether it's in that minute, that hour, that day, or at all. And so that would be my thoughts on that. So I actually was a part before I had moved to Southern Oregon. At the time we were living in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And my physical therapist had put together a group of, there must have been 15 or 20 of us that would get together, and we would have dinner and share experiences. And it was both individuals who were disabled in couples and single individuals. And there is a lot of love out there. Love is not based on what people see. What people see goes away. Beautiful hair goes away. Beautiful complexion goes away. Beautiful breasts go away. Your butt doesn't hang beautifully forever. That's just not the reality of life.
Right.
When you fall in love with somebody, you fall in love with an individual.
Exactly.
Find a group, find peers, go out, find things you enjoy to do, and you will find somebody who enjoys to do the same things you enjoy to do. You'll have great conversations. You will find your partner.
Yeah.
There's so much out there. Yeah. And I think that society puts a lot of stress on the way we look.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not important.
It's not. I mean, it helps, but that's not what matters at the end of the day.
No.
You know, and I just get so sick of people saying, I mean, Angie and I don't get it, but sometimes we get comments where someone says, oh, people think your and Angie's relationship is so cute and adorable, but what happens if Angie was a man? Would people think that was just as adorable? And I'm like, why would it matter if it was a man or not?
Some of the questions people ask, it just disgusts me.
And then a lot of the questions too are, how do you guys have sex? Or can you be intimate? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's no one's business either.
No.
And we're human. Obviously, that we have those needs. I mean, most people have those needs.
Right.
As long as you know that, that's all you need to know. And this makes me upset that people can't wrap their head around people that are in interabled relationships. There's not enough there's not enough representation out there.
No, there's not.
That's why we do this channel, and that's why we do what we do, because it's important.
It's absolutely important.
So,
I mean, we are
We're human. We deserve to be loved too. Just because we might be a little bit broken, quote unquote, doesn't mean we're not lovable humans.
But isn't everyone broken?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and that's something I never it just goes back to what people see again. It's what their eyes show them. Because the truth is, out of everybody I know, I don't know anybody who isn't going through something. I don't know anybody who, like, somebody might be an alcoholic, or somebody might have terrible migraines, or somebody might not be able to walk, or we all have different challenges in our life. And I think the biggest handicap might be the fact that people see us with their eyes.
Exactly. And assumptions are automatically made, and it's crappy. And it's something I've had to deal with. I mean, like I said, Angie and I, we don't get a lot of backlash, fortunately. Now, our channel is not that big either yet. I'm hoping it will grow, but right now we don't get a lot of hate. Just a few little things here and there, but nothing severe. But I mean, I don't know. It's sad.
It is.
Change.
It is sad because there's so much judgment in the world and everything. Most people are only able to understand what they've experienced. It is difficult to understand anything outside of that experience because it's just not in the realm of possibility. Everyone has a different journey. And if people aren't there to support each other through that journey, they're going to be the ones who end up living very lonely lives.
Exactly.
I mean, we're a community. Human nature is to love. That's what we're supposed to do.
Preach it, girl. I feel the same. I feel the same. We need more love, less hate, less judgment.
Yes, that's it. Absolutely.
I feel like there's so much more hate and judgment lately in this world. And just, I mean, both politically and everywhere. It needs to stop.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's everybody, it goes back to there used to be a time where we could tell each other like opinions were like, and everybody had one.
Yeah.
Now we've accepted opinions are like that and everybody has one. So now we feel like we all need to share that with everybody, when we used to be much more reserved about our opinions and just saying like to each their own.
Yeah.
But
and
now
I still have that mentality of like to each their own. I've never been big at like saying my opinion public, like severe issues publicly. I just don't like to get into that conversation. I mean, that can be good or bad, but that's just me. I'm not that type of person.
right.
Um, so I try to stay out of that, but even the little bit that I have shared, especially lately, I've gotten some backlash, and it's just sad.
I feel like society, as much as we continue to grow, we're much more open-minded than we were 60 years ago.
Mm,
But we still have such a big way to go.
you exactly. I agree.
Oh,
So we should probably wrap up. I could keep talking to you for hours, but
same.
before I do end this, where can I mean, if you want to share, where can our subscribers find you or follow you on social media?
So I have an Instagram. On my Instagram, I'm stoned as a mother. And there I do share a lot of my journey. I am very honest to a fault. And I tell people that I'm pretty transparent. So I would love to connect with individuals who are on a similar journey. We're not all on the same path, but we can be on similar paths and be there to support one another. And I'm so glad that you and I have met to be able to be on this path together, to be able to support one another. So thank you
Well,
for that.
I'm glad that a mutual friend told you about me and our YouTube channel, and that makes me feel good that, you know, the word is getting spread about us. So
Yes.
thank you, and thank you for being willing to share your story with us.
And thank you for speaking with me. It's been nice to hear a lot about your story as well. And it's just been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jess. You're awesome. And
You,
all right, well,
thank you for this opportunity.
you're welcome. Thank you. I'm going to close this out with my traditional closing, which is thank you so much for watching. Peace and love. Bye.
Bye.